From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Good evening and welcome tonight. Senate rejects removal of fuel subsidy, also debates report on unremitted funds by the NNPC. Tempers flare yet again at the national conference as derivation principle divides delegates. German government promises to help Nigeria tackle insurgency in the northeast. And the German government orders expulsion of a CIA agent in Berlin following spy allegations by the United States.
On Business News tonight, the Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC) unveils its corporate governance code to stakeholders in Lagos.
For sports news, FIFA rejects Luis Suarez's appeal against his 4-month ban for biting at the 2014 World Cup.
I'm Linda Kibe and from Abuja. 9-year-old girl rescued from human traffickers. Police advise citizens to be vigilant.
We'll begin with the lawmakers, where it took a few minutes of debating for the Senate to reject continuation of payment of fuel subsidy. The federal lawmakers took this position after considering a report by the Committee on Finance on the probe of the alleged non-remittance of $49.8 million oil revenue. A committee in the report had recommended that the subsidy regime be totally abolished.
The controversy may have cooled. The media attention shifted to other issues. However, the Senate has chosen to revisit the allegations made by the immediate past CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido that the NNPC failed to remit $49.8 billion to the Federation account. The Senate had asked its Committee on Finance to investigate the allegations by Sanusi Lamido. The chairman of the Finance Committee gave details of the investigation at plenary. He said there was never any unremitted $49.8 billion.
The committee could not see how the figure of $49.8 billion was arrived at by the CBN governor in the first instance.
The committee observed that there is lack of proper and adequate coordination between the key government agencies such as the CBN, NNPC, Ministries of Finance and Petroleum, FIRS and DPR.
That there was poor record keeping and nonchalant work attitude by the NNPC by not rendering returns of subsidy claims on monthly basis from January 2012 to date, which contributed largely to the creation of the problem in hand.
Lawmakers then debated the report, but the debate got off on a rocky start.
It is important, Mr. President, for us to be given time to go and read and analyze, study this report, and then discuss it.
The governor of the central bank, as he then was, made a lot of very wild allegations, and when he now faced the committee, the figures kept flying from 20 billion, 12 billion, or 10-point-something billion, or anything in between.
In more organized systems, somebody will have taken a poison pill. But we are instead talking about deliberately orchestrated failures, and nobody is accepting blame.
The committee in the report recommended that the subsidy regime be totally abolished, but this recommendation was shut down by lawmakers.
I think any call for subsidy removal, we must not entertain it in this chamber. My reason is that, one, for us to talk of subsidy removal, the necessary infrastructure necessary for the removal to be possible must be put in place.
The committee also recommended that the NNPC refund and remit $262 million, being expenses it could not satisfactorily defend in respect of holding strategic stock reserve, pipeline maintenance and management costs, as well as capital expenditure. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, tempers flared at the national conference today following sharp division among delegates on critical issues of revenue sharing formula from the Federation accounts and derivation principle. Emotions ran high as delegates exchanged words in anger over the issues and the inability of the conference to agree on the immediate functions of a proposed national intervention fund. The conference adjourned for an hour to try to resolve the impasse, but had to adjourn for the day when it became obvious that an agreement would not be reached. Our correspondent, Larry Lasisi, has more.
For the third day in a row, delegates gathered in plenary hoping that a resolution was in the offing on the contentious issues of revenue sharing formula and the derivation principle. Some of the delegates spoke on their expectation for the session.
I am optimistic that that spirit of bricksmanship, the mindset of statesmen, that patriotic intent, the spirit of give and take, and the urge to empathize with each other will prevail. And then eventually we will be able to move over this issue without having to cast a single ballot.
And 18% I think is reasonable. The status quo was supposed to be 13%. So I'm expecting that the 18% will go through today.
I think there will be another row over the recommendation of the ad hoc committee, but we'll look into it. It's either they take the whole package or we stand by the committee's report.
Now, this appeared to be the mindset of other delegates. An appeal was, however, proposed to the conference chairman.
I ask that we as a committee sit and look at this document so that we shall, in the spirit of the consensus and agreement, come to you and say, yes, every signature you see here, the signature of the original members and the understanding of all of us.
This prayer was granted and a break of 1 hour was announced. It allowed some delegates to speak candidly to each other. When conference resumed, some other amendments were taken as the House waited for the committee to return with an agreement. When they eventually came in, it was obvious that all was not resolved.
This evening, we have not reached an agreement. Therefore, any report submitted to you has no support from us. Thank you very much.
This led to another break in proceedings. Eventually, the chairman made this announcement.
I'll be meeting with the 50 wise man, committee chairman, and their deputies, 11 o'clock here. And the committees should proceed with their meeting.
Once again, the House was forced to adjourn. Some of the delegates spoke on the development.
It's a national fund, but some people are proposing that it should be exclusively for Northeast, Northwest, and North Central as intervention, while there's a counter proposal that the fund should be a pool, which should be for Northeast, North Central, and Northwest, but as well as other areas that need such intervention. So that's the only bone of contention, and I'm sure that can be resolved by tomorrow.
We have seen this insurgency as a national problem. Boko Haram is a national issue, so the solution should also be national. So that's the issue here, you know. And then when people say, why should we be giving more for having oil?
All the delegates were calling for different members of the committee to be included into the committee that will be sitting and discussing from now till probably by Monday. And I believe by the time they sit and deliberate, we would come to some kind of agreement. But you know, everything, there should be a blanket cover. There should be an inclusiveness of every part of the nation so that everybody feels they're included in whatever it's going on.
Now, it's clear that there will be different meetings between different groups of delegates over the weekend. What is not clear is if these issues will be resolved or if this will be the end of the road for the conference. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
To security issues now, 16 persons suspected of having masterminded the kidnap of two sisters in Abuja and an uncle to President Goodluck Jonathan in Bayelsa State have been paraded by the Department of State Services. Addressing the news conference in Abuja, the Deputy Director, Public Relations of the DSS, Marilyn Oga, explained that the suspects were arrested by men of the service during an operation. She was appreciative of the support of members of the public in the fight against criminality.
70-year-old Nenjite Nitabai, uncle to President Goodluck Jonathan, may not have imagined he could be abducted by gunmen, knowing his relationship with the presidency. But the good news is that about 4 months after he was freed, the Department of State Security Service, DSS, says his abductors have now been arrested.
He was whisked away in an ash color Honda Jeep to Onuegbu waterside, from where he was transferred into a waiting speedboat and taken to the creeks.
It's not only Mr. Nitabai's abductors that are in DSS custody. The agency also has persons suspected to be behind the kidnap of two sisters in Abuja.
Their last escapade, which led to their arrest, occurred on 8 June 2014, about 15:00 hours, at New Life Camp, Abuja FCT, where two sisters, aged 15 and 17 years, were kidnapped by a gang of 5 armed men who also robbed the family of other personal effects.
While acknowledging the support of the public in the fight against criminal acts, the service stressed the need for members of the public to be vigilant about their environment, as issues of security cannot be left in the hands of security agencies alone.
Meanwhile, the German government has promised to assist the federal government in reducing the spate of insecurity in the country. The German Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Marcus Adera, at a meeting in Abuja, described the incessant destruction of lives and property by Boko Haram as worrisome. On his part, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Martin Zuhumobi, solicited the assistance of the German government in ensuring free and fair elections in 2015. In part 2 after the break, a court in Benin City blasts lawmakers over contempt. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.